Yeah, so I want you to articulate what your worldview is, as condensed as you can, just because I want people who watch this channel to hear what it means to be a progressive, because there are so many people who use that label, like Hillary Clinton, Bill Maher,
Yeah.
AOC. I mean, Tulsi didn't even use that label to describe herself. I mean, it's just such
It's probably smart.
yeah, it's got so much baggage with it. So I want you to explain what it means to you, just so people can hear it.
Yeah, no, it's crazy because like you hear all those people who probably represent different branches of the left all call themselves progressives. And I would say that I'm probably more of the populist progressive. So in other words, I don't support big government running everything. And why? Because once again, I know my history. I know that the Eisenhower was caught spying on Martin Luther King. I know that they used to call everybody, like including the Black Panthers, communists, not because of them, like their political ideology, but because that was the only buzzword you had to assign to them in order to violate all of their rights. And I don't ever want the government to be that big again. Literally, the government was the reason, like I said, that we were not allowed to own homes, that redlining exists, that 93% of our education is funded through property taxes, only 10% is funded through the federal government. Even though obviously the federal government takes more of my money than the state does, especially here in Florida. So I don't support big government, although I do believe there's a place. And I believe that place is actually supposed to be for accountability purposes, to expand rights, never to restrict rights. Like the NSA should have never existed under the federal government, period. Even the FBI should have only really been a state-to-state agency. People can't say it's not possible because that's literally what the DMV is, and the DMV is like weird. It's kind of like half private, half government, but it can't exist state to state. It already exists state to state, matter of fact. But yet we have somebody who is an elected official then get to appoint someone without our consent, and that's, in my opinion, a violation. It's federal overreach, and every appointment at the federal level is overreach. I believe there should probably be way more elections as far as these agencies and offices are concerned than there are right now. Most progressives, I would say, are half on the Second Amendment. They believe in the Second Amendment, but they believe in accountability, of course, and they believe in like assault weapons bans and things like that. However, I would say probably over the last 2 years, once again, I know my history, and I can't pretend like if I talk about election integrity, right? If I understand the corruption that the government has been involved in, there was a story this morning that just came out that said that these 3 men are about to be released from jail because it turned out they were laundering money, right, for cocaine money, and it turned out it was the FBI who made them do it. So they're about to be released from jail, right? So if I'm looking at what's happening there, if I'm looking at what's happening with these protests, if I'm looking at what's happening with the way that people are being abducted, then I can't in good conscience not be a Second Amendment absolutist, because the whole reason the Second Amendment was created, not just to protect from foreign enemies, but domestic ones as well. And if you look currently, I think that everybody kind of agrees that the government, as it currently stands, the majority of those people there are, in fact, enemies of the people. At the very bare minimum, they're adversarial. And so when you think about that perspective and the fact that half of the Second Amendment has been erased, and you kind of have to question, well, is there a reason for that? And there is. Like, nobody ever talks about the militia aspect. Nobody ever talks about the fact that the militias are supposed to be the police department and basically the National Guard of your city and state. And everybody, at least the men, and probably would have evolved into the women too, everybody learn how to use a gun responsibly. The government very rarely thought that they can just run into any given state and just wreak havoc on any given town, because everybody had a weapon and everybody knew how to use it for the most part. And those were the police departments. And so because of that, you didn't have to deal with situations with police brutality like you see today. Why? Because they're coming from that community. And you're not going to kill your neighbor's son or beat the hell out of your teacher's daughter, or the person who's teaching your child, their daughter. Like, that's not how it works. And so the executive branch, once again using federal overreach, completely got rid of militias. And now we have the National Guard. And so I'm like one of those like Second Amendment absolutists, where I feel like we don't have enough power to defend ourselves from the government right now, and that has to be reconciled. Now, on the other side of that fence, when it comes to social justice issues, I'm very aware of Black plight, as I just once again explained. When you had laws not 400 years ago, not 300 years ago, not 200 years ago, but redlining, one of the policies that came through the Federal Housing Administration that once again was passed or created by FDR. The last case of redlining was 2015. You know what I'm saying? 93% of all education is funded through property taxes. That's a Jim Crow law. That is a Jim Crow law. And so I am not going to sit here and ignore the reality of what Black people in this country and brown people in this country have dealt with. Now, I am also, so even though I'm about reconciliation, I'm also, I'm like live and let live when it comes to a lot of social justice issues. And so I'm just not about being in other people's business, man. I just don't. When the whole LGBTQ thing, well, I think it was 2014, whenever it finally got legalized, the equitable rights for marriage. Bro, I was like, why do y'all care so much about these people going about their lives? Because the Bible told me I have to, like, if you worry about your damn self, maybe you wouldn't have as many problems as you have right now. How about that? Like, and so I could care less. Like, I want everybody, as long as they're not harming anyone, to be able to live the life that they choose to live. And I believe that healthcare is a right. I 100% believe that, because as we are entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, life, you kind of have to have good healthcare for life. Liberty, are you truly free if you don't have your health? You cannot be. You're a slave, especially in this world. You can be, in this country specifically, you can be a slave to your job and your bills when it comes to your healthcare. Just to be able to get healthcare. And then, of course, the pursuit of happiness, which you cannot be truly happy if you do not have your health. And so, although there is an appropriate way to address that, and it's probably going to require a mixed bag of solutions like single payer plus, like what Toasty was offering. I do believe healthcare is a right. So basically, I just believe in things that, like, I feel like society, I consider myself to be progressive because I believe in the things that society just naturally has to go through in order to progress and evolve. And when people just kind of like want to return to these draconian thought processes without actually analyzing the history of that, I just feel like it's because they are personally benefiting from them at the time, or at least they think they might. So, of course, you'll see people like Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz or these neocons or even the Joe Bidens, right? Or the Kamala Harrises. Kamala was able to thrive by screwing over Black people. Biden, like, whenever, regardless of whether or not you believe in it, Biden, everybody on the left was screaming defund the police. And this man Biden said, oh, so you mean give them $300 million and then make one a VP? Is that what you meant? Like, they don't care, but it's because if you look at Kamala's career, this is how she made her career. If you look at Biden's career, screwing over Black people is literally how he made his career. And so they have no incentive to progress and evolve. But I do believe that that's, once again, one thing that progressives and libertarians largely agree on.